In today's story, we start with the Mataafa storm of 1905. This was a storm that occurred on the Great Lakes on November 27th and 28th. At around 6 p.m., winds at Duluth, Minnesota had begun to reach 44 miles an hour. Storm warning flags were flying all over and being posted on the morning of November 28th, and then the cyclone began to move into southern Minnesota. Around this time, easterly gales and heavy snows began to spread all across Lake Superior, Lake Huron, and Lake Erie. These 5-minute winds reached over 68 miles an hour at Duluth during the early morning of November 28th. This storm was named after the steamship Mataafa and ended up destroying or damaging around 29 vessels and killing over 36 seamen on Lake Superior. The SS IRA H Owen launched on July 7, 1887. The Owen was built by the Globe Iron Works Company of Cleveland, Ohio, and she was operated by the Owen Line from 1887 to 1899, and then the National Steamship Company from 1899 to 1905. Early in the Owen's career, she carried iron ore from Escanaba, Michigan. In April of 1898, the Owen was chartered by the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad as well. She was also then sold to the National Steamship Company of Chicago on December 30th of 1899, and then she frequently carried coal and grain and other goods throughout her career. The Owen had an overall length of 278 feet. Her beam was 39 feet, and her hull was 19 feet deep. The Owen also had a gross tonnage of 1,753 tons, and she could carry a net tonnage of 1,497 tons. She also had, for installed power, one compound steam engine with 2 Scotch Marine boilers, and she had a crew of 19. The IRA H Owen was actually involved in several accidents all throughout her career, the first occurring in April of 1889 when she ran aground in the St. Clair River. While the Owen was bound for Chicago on June 16, 1892, she collided with the 2-masted schooner Belle Brown. This was about 16 miles off of Ludington, Michigan. The Owen's cabin was severely damaged, and the Belle Brown as well was also damaged. After the collision, the Belle Brown was towed by the Owen to Ludington, and then she headed off to Chicago again. On the night of July 2, 1893, while heavily laden with iron ore, the IRA H Owen struck a rock off of Cedar Point near Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. Again, in the early morning of July 20th, 1897, while traveling on Lake Huron, the IRA H Owen collided with the package freighter Susquehanna in a thick fog off of Presque Isle, Michigan. Both of these vessels were severely damaged, and the IRA H Owen headed for Alpena, Michigan for her repairs, while the Susquehanna proceeded to Middle Island and eventually sailed off to Chicago. It's also worth noting here that after leaving Manitowoc, Wisconsin on December 5th, 1903, the IRA H Owen actually caught fire as well. On the early morning of November 28, 1905, the IRA H Owen left Duluth, Minnesota with a light load of 116,000 bushels of barley for Buffalo. The Owen was under the command of Captain Thomas Honer. Previously a first mate, he had been made captain of the Owen prior to her final trip. As the Owen passed the Apostle Islands, the weather conditions began to fail. However, her captain opted to not seek shelter due to these conditions. As the IRA H Owen continued on, passing Outer Island, she was hit by the full force of 80 to 90 mile an hour winds on Lake Superior. The Owen was spotted by Captain Alva Keller of the freighter Harold B. This was around 40 miles off of Outer Island and had appeared to be in some severe trouble. Captain Harold B., however, was unable to do anything to assist the IRA H. Owen. Eventually, the snow blocked the IRA H. Owen from Captain Keller's view after only 2 hours, and then the storm had passed. Captain Keller looked for the IRA H. Owen with his binoculars. However, he was unable to see anything of the IRA H. Owen. After the storm had subsided, and on December 1st at around 10 a.m., the captain of the freighter, Sir William Simons, actually reported locating some wreckage from the IRA H. Owen. The wreckage consisted of some chairs, the top of a cabin, some stairs, and multiple life jackets with the name SS IRA H. Owen stenciled on them. This was just 12 miles east of Michigan Island. The IRA H. Owen was lost, and none of her 19 crewmen survived or were ever found. This sinking and disappearance with her entire crew made the IRA H. Owen the only victim of the Mataafa storm to be lost with all her hands. The IRA H. Owen and her cargo were insured for $100,000, which is equivalent to $3.15 million in 2023. Although the wreck of the IRA H. Owen has not been located, according to the Wisconsin Historical Society, the wreck of the IRA H. Owen may in fact likely lie in deep water off of the Outer Island area and the Apostles. And that concludes the story of the SS IRA H. Owen. There's a lot to be said about the Mataafa storm, and I may cover that story in a separate video along with all the other vessels and losses that occurred during her. But yeah, this vessel in particular, there's many more accidents in which she sustained, and it was just incredible how many collisions and near complete total sinkings. Even the fire, there's a lot more information on the fire that happened in her. I think it began in her boiler room, and that had to get put out. But what an ordeal this vessel had to go through. And then her final run in this storm is not to be underestimated. It's powerful like the 1913 storm, but the Mataafa storm itself was, particularly for Lake Superior, very devastating. And it's very much worth a look and read into as well. But yeah, imagine just being out in Lake Superior and just encountering complete and utter whiteout blizzard conditions. I mean, at that point, what do? I mean, you just send out the distress signals and try to maneuver your way through this unseeable storm. Just a terrifying thing to be in. And then to be lost, those poor crew members to be lost in that frigid, freezing cold water. Oh, I can only imagine that. That would not be good. That would suck. But I pray for these 19 crew members that went down with her, and hopefully we can find her wreck someday and maybe get some more answers as to her sinking, or maybe some more of her possibly final moments, which led to this, and hopefully bring some closure and peace to these crew members, because they definitely deserve it. It doesn't matter how long ago this was. They were still 19 souls that were lost in this storm. But with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed this story on Songs of the Great Lakes, and I very much appreciate all of your comments, likes, subscriptions, all the good stuff, and I also enjoy your comments in the sections down below. But with that, I will bring this video to a close, and until next time, God bless you all.